codenamed Savior, had moved out. The entirety of the squad had found a vantage point and was able to locate a place of interest. That place of interest was a village. It was a few days out, they could tell. Ever since then they were tracking themselves, as far as they could get. Sure, they'd gone through a few rations, but they were able to get there relatively safely. Nothing eventful happened until they reached the village. Reaper, you got eyes? Angel said through the radio. Reaper then replied, Yeah, I've got eyes. Situation isn't looking too good. They had gotten to this village, only to find that it was occupied by enemy forces. And they could tell it was an enemy force. They didn't know what to make of it. Now they knew they weren't anywhere now they knew they were somewhere. Where that somewhere was fucking beyond them. They were stuck out somewhere. Where anything that would somewhat result to reality was thrown out the window. They immediately identified the friendlies and the enemies. The friendlies were ponies. They looked sentient, along with the black things flying around. The enemy force that was occupying had taken them as hostages. This much was clear to the group. Angel radioed. Alright. Team, we got at least 19 of these things down there. Affirmative. Phoenix, you move. Phoenix, Stripes, you group up and move from the right flank. Angel, me, and Reaper, we will push from the left flank. We'll move ourselves in. Remember, we don't have a suppressor on any of our guns. This much I know. We're going to have to use knives. We'll eliminate as many hostiles as we can silently. And once we do, we'll meet in the middle, secure hostages, and we'll see what we can do from there. Of course, I know we normally call in for evac or reinforcements to push into the area so they could secure it and we could push on to the next objective, but that's not the case. Remember, Overwatch is not a viable option, neither is Fortress. Once we move in, we will establish Castle, and then we will wait. And you will wait for further orders. Do I make myself clear? In unison, Phoenix, Stripes, and Reaper said, "Yes, sir." This time, Reaper had said it because he felt serious in the situation. Team, these black bug things, whatever they are, seem to be wearing armor plating, but our bullets can easily pierce through that, I believe. Some of them are holding spears, and they got those sharp horns, so be careful. Alright, team, 3, 2, 1, push. Phoenix and Stripes grouped up and pushed onto the right flank, while Angel and Reaper pushed onto the left flank. Team, remember, if it gets bad, we'll group up at the bottom basement, and then we'll do attack formation claw. The team moved. Reaper had put his L96A1 over his back, choosing rather to pull out his M9 and his knife. Reaper and Angel moved up in unison, spotting two of those black things talking to each other, while what appeared to be a mother and a little child in some goo were crying. Well, the child was, and the mother was trying to calm the poor little thing. This made Reaper's blood boil. They moved up, getting right behind them. Angel nodded. They both lunged forward, grabbing the upper jaw of the creature. They were about to yelp out of fear to alert their comrades that they were in a situation. However, this was not the case, as Reaper swiftly pulled his bayonet and then rammed it into the lower throat of the creature. The creature's legs were kicking. He then yanked out and pushed the creature over. It fell onto its face. He looked over, and Angel had already killed that creature. Reaper went over and knelt in front of them, deciding it would be best to get information on what these things are. Hey, are you okay? Please don't hurt us, the mother said. We won't. We're here to save you. We're going to get you out of here. Can you tell us what these things are? They're changelings. She had told them about how they can shift and how they can shape-shift, and how also that they came in large groups. Reaper got on this radio and said, "Team, apparently these things are called changelings, and they can shape-shift. Trust me, after half the stuff we've seen, do not be surprised. I've talked to one of the local residents. They were more than happy to give me this information." He went over, took his bayonet knife, and began cutting the gooey strands. After about 30 seconds, she was out, and so was the little child. He said, "Look, you guys hide in this little shed here. We'll be back for you." He got up and began moving. Phoenix and Stripe also were having similar luck. Stripe's began moving up on one of the changelings, who was armored, who had a spear. As he was moving up, he didn't notice the leaves that were beneath him. He stepped on them and they crackled. The changeling yanked its head to look, but was tackled. They began struggling. So, Stripes took his hand and covered the thing's mouth. Getting himself up, both of his knees were over the spear, so fighting back wasn't a viable option. Before the thing could use its horn to shoot some kind of magic, Stripes couldn't get to his knife, so he resorted to his fist. He took his left fist and began clocking the beast, clocking the changeling once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5, 6, 7. He clocked the thing 7 times till it was unconscious. He then moved and saw if he still had them. Luckily he did. He zip-tied the thing down, putting a cloth around its eyes and mouth. Team, I was able to restrain one of these things. We'll interrogate him later. They began moving. Eventually, they found themselves in the center. Angel, Stripes, and Reaper had moved to the center. They didn't know where Phoenix was. Phoenix was moving through a doorway. He was on top of what looked like a church, but not really a church. He had to get the one changeling that was overlooking the entire site. However, he made the mistake of not checking his corner, and the one changeling that was propped up against the wall noticed him as he moved and stabbed his buddy in the back of the head. The changeling, out of a fierce rage, charged forward with his horn and rammed it into Phoenix's back, and he let out a fierce yell. Phoenix then moved away, turning, yanking out his deagle, firing one shot as it slammed into the changeling's chest, throwing him back. The noise echoed, and then they knew they were in trouble. Angel swiftly put his hand up to his radio and said, "Team, listen up. That gunshot that one of you popped off, I'm assuming you, Phoenix, alerted the rest. Everyone, attack formation X." Phoenix was able to regroup with the rest. He then put away his P90, pulling out his M1014, which was a shotgun, semi-auto. Reaper pulled out an M9, seeing as two changelings were flying above, one of them dive bombing. Reaper aimed up and fired his M9 3 times, one hitting in the wing, one hitting in the lower stomach, and one hitting in the side of the chest. The creature fell down. It wasn't dead. It was in a lot of pain, though, trying to recover the best it could. The second changeling had flown down, propping itself, and it fired off a burst of energy, hitting Reaper. Reaper yelled out in pain as he fell over, gripping his chest. He aimed his M9 and fired once, slamming into the changeling's skull as it fell over. Stripes moved over swiftly, pulling out his M249, getting into a prone position, putting up his bipod, and began firing at the incoming changelings. There were at least 5 of them. 2 were on ground, 3 were floating above. As they rushed, they realized their mistake. They got pelted with bullets, ripping and tearing into them, splitting them apart as their vicious goo secreted out of their body. Three changelings were rushing at Phoenix. He simply fired off the first round from his shotgun. As the pellets exited the gun, they pelted into one's face. It was horrifying. The eye of one of the changelings popped, and it fell over, dead. He turned to the other 2, firing off 3 rounds. The second one, its leg came off as it fell over, screaming in pain. He fired the other 2 shots at it, one hitting it in the chest and one in the throat. Then the third one jumped, got on top of him. Phoenix had his gun outward, struggling with the creature that was on top of him, toiling around. Phoenix then said, "Guys, I need help." Angel then began backing up. He then moved his hand lower on his AR-160. There was a grenade launcher attached to it. He then put his finger on the trigger and clicked it. It shot outwards and blew up in a relatively small circle. It immediately ate away at them. Ate away at the 6 changelings. As all that came out from the smoke was body parts. Angel then said, "Reaper, go help Phoenix. Stripes, cover me. I'm reloading." He then swiftly took his hand and rammed it on the side of his AR, the clip falling out, swiftly yanking out one and loading in it. Reaper ran around, pulling out his .44, aiming it at the changeling that was on top of Phoenix. Firing up a round, it pelted in the side of the changeling's head, yanking him to the left. He fell over. He put it back into his pocket and got on top of the statue that they were surrounding. They all began looking around. The area was secure, as far as they knew. There were no other hostile forces. The hostile occupants that were in the area, they knew they had retreated. They hadn't killed all of them. There must have been more. Phoenix looked out at his scope, seeing about 6 of them running. 7th one, who looked rather beaten up. Reaper guessed it was the captor that Stripes had talked about. Angel then said, "All right, team, we have an objective. We got to secure the hostages. Reaper, you go up on top of that bell tower. You're the lookout. Up, you go up there and you remain on overwatch. Any of those things approach, you have permission to fire. Rest of us, roll out, secure hostages." Reaper remained on overwatch. There were a few of them that began lurking towards the city. Reaper would pop him off with his L96A1. He had placed a radio beacon on top of the roof as well. Eventually, Stripes had also taken the defensive, placing down his mortar kit. Reaper would tell Stripes coordinates, and Stripes would be more than happy to fire. That would leave Phoenix and Angel to secure the rest of the hostages. It didn't take them long. They were able to secure all of them. Eventually, they found the leader of the town, the mayor. The mayor then looked at them and said, "I don't know how to thank you. Angel. My name's Angel. He's Phoenix. That's Stripes, and that's Reaper." Phoenix chimed in saying, "Glad I could be of assistance." Stripes said, "Any day, any time." Reaper just nodded his head, leaning against the wall, with a Bowie knife, just sitting there messing with it. "Now, what's your name, miss?" "My name is Miss Blossom. I'm the mayor of this lovely town here. And, well, we wanted to thank you, truly. We don't know what you are, but we're glad you came. Anytime, anywhere, miss. Now, what's the name of the town you have here? It seems like such a lovely settlement." "Oh, well, this is Flower Town." That made a lot of sense, seeing as how the surrounding fields were littered with flowers. "Ma'am, is there any way that we can get in contact with anyone who rules these lands? The president, maybe? Or, hell, They were hoping that there wasn't some kind of dictatorship here. However, that wasn't the case. Apparently it was some form of monarchy, as there was a princess. Not a king or queen, which is rather weird, but a princess ruled the land. They decided, out of their better judgment, not to question their politics. Well, miss, we really appreciate this. Could you please point us in the direction of where your ruler may be? Oh, why, yes. If you want to head there, Canterlot would be... She handed him a map and pointed onto it. By the way, due to your act of bravery, we would like to bestow upon you this. They were rewarded about 300 bits. He looked and said, Miss, we cannot take this. She said, nonsense. You will take this. Thank you, miss. I appreciate this kind offer that you bestowed upon us. And in this town, we do have medals. She went and came back with a glass case. Opening it, she used her horn to levitate 4 of these medals onto the chest of 4 of the soldiers. That night they had sat down. They had gotten information. They had gotten enough. The surrounding races in this land were these: ponies, griffins, changelings, and a few others. However, there was a recent addition: Discordians. She then went into an in-depth explanation about Discord, the god of chaos, or the prince, or whatever the hell. Apparently, after he became clean or whatever, he started his own little tribe called Discordians. They lived in a town that they would have to pass through in order to get to Canterlot. They were told about his powers and such. Apparently, Discord just did this so that Celestia would have to do more and more paperwork. Angel thought it was kind of funny, but it wasn't his place to say anything. He had learned about the celestial goddess and the lunar goddess. He had also learned about the 3 races in the ponies. Earth ponies, Pegasi, and unicorns. He'd also learned about the changelings' occupation as a militaristic force, and their leader, Queen Chrysalis. They would have to wait before they would move out. They asked if they could stay at least one night in the village before moving on, and they asked if they would be able to send a letter to Princess Celestia. They said of course, but they asked why they didn't want that. They could easily take the train that would lead them there. They decided on it and decided it was the best idea. It was a viable option. They would wait in the morning to take the train. Angel felt proud of his group. They had moved in and eliminated a hostile presence inside of a town, freeing the hostages that lived within. Residents of Flower Town would come by and hand them bouquets of flowers and some chocolates and stuff. He just felt glad that they were making a change for the better.